So today we're going to talk about kitchen essentials. There is a lot of different kitchen equipment out there, and it can be super fun to have a fully stocked kitchen of all sorts of kitchen gadgets. There are just a few home essentials though that make cooking a lot easier and also can make your cooking a little bit more refined. So I want to just talk about those few kind of kitchen essentials and then also some of the nice to haves. So one of the things that is an essential but also a nice to have is a really good blender. So an essential is a blender, a nice to have would be something like a Vitamix here, which is what I have. I use this all of the time. I make hummus in it, I make soup. It will literally blend anything, smoothies, you name it. You don't have to have the Vitamix, it is fairly expensive, but any sort of good blender, you can get a good blender for anywhere from $30 to $100. So that's item number one. The second essential is going to be some sort of food processor. So I have a Cuisinart here, and you might be wondering what the difference between the blender and the food processor is. And we'll get into that a little bit later, their different uses. Quickly, the food processor, we can do a lot with doughs in this, and also some different chopping, which is pretty nice. They make them smaller and they come larger. Any sort of food processor though is going to do the trick. All right, then a few other things that are pretty essential. You're gonna want some sort of a handheld blender. So this is definitely an essential, a handheld blender. Some sort of set of mixing bowls. So we have a large one here, we have a small one. They can be plastic, they can be stainless steel. They have different uses in the kitchen. But any sort of standard mixing bowl set will do. We want to have a set of mise en place bowls. So mise en place is basically just meaning that we take our measured out ingredients and we assemble them before we're cooking. So any good experienced home chef is going to want a lot of mise en place bowls. It makes cooking so much easier and organized, and if you're not doing mise en place prep right now, you are going to start to in this course, and it's really going to take your cooking up a notch. Some sort of a juicer. So this is more of a nice to have because you can, get juice out of a lemon or a lime or any sort of citrus without a juicer, but this sure does make it a lot easier, and they're pretty inexpensive. So I would pick up one of those if you don't already have one. I love to use a microplane. This is more of an essential than a nice to have. If we're going to do anything with a rind, whether it be from a citrus or the rind of a cheese, if we want to get any sort of fine kind of shred from a bar of chocolate for a dessert, then we're going to want a microplane. So that is definitely an essential. An essential as well is a good chef's knife. So this is the one that I use all of the time. I love it. It is German. There's some great Japanese knives, American knives. You can get something standard. You want it to fit your hand. We're gonna go into a whole knife selection video and also knife skills. In the meantime though, just look for something that feels good in your hand. This one fits my hand really well. I like that it has this little edge at the end, and it also has one here. There's names for all this that we'll learn later. So this is my favorite though. I have also a paring knife. This isn't the one I always use, but you want a smaller knife to do a little bit of more delicate work. I tend to make a lot of bread, so I also have a serrated knife. So you want those three knives: a chef's knife, a paring knife, and a serrated knife. And if we're going to have knives, the most essential thing with knives is that they're sharp. So we need a sharpening tool. This is just a simple little one you can get from IKEA for $5. There are electric one out there, or you can get a standard bar one that's going to be great as well. And we'll go into that more in the knife skills section. Pretty essential, I use these all of the time, are kitchen shears or kitchen scissors. I use them to, oh my gosh, open packages. I use them to kind of just chop up herbs. I use them to cut pizza. Those are more of a nice to have, but they're pretty nice to have, and once you get a pair, you sure are using them quite a bit, in my opinion. You're going to want a peeler. That's a pretty essential for peeling. Peel a lot of squash in the winter time. A mandolin is very nice to have. It's not an essential, it's a nice to have to do super uniform, thin, or different cut items like vegetables. This is great for a radish, it's great for a citrus if we want to candy something. Get it super thin and have all of them uniform. This thing is super nice to have. Another nice to have is a little squirt bottle here, as you can see. I use this a lot for, say I'm making a basil reduction or a balsamic reduction, and I'm gonna just add a little drizzle to the top of a soup. This comes really in handy. It's kind of hard to do it without it, so that's a pretty nice to have. All right, I think this is an essential. It's Maldon sea salt. Cook with it all of the time. You're gonna wanna have a really good salt. This is my favorite. A lot of chefs use this salt. You can get it pretty much anywhere nowadays, at your normal grocery store, your high-end Whole Foods, Molly Stone's, those type of places. But find a salt that you really like. That's essential. Also, olive oil. We're going to go into olive oil, but you pretty much want to have an olive oil and a grapeseed oil. They cook at different temperatures, so make sure that you stock up on both of those before beginning the class. Those are your kitchen essential. All of these items are for sale on the It Starts at Home website, so you can buy them there if you're missing anything. There's a few other things we're gonna come across in our cooking journey together over the next few weeks, but that's a good place to start.